Hi there. So I promised you I would do a little video on some bits that you can use that are reasonably simple and effective for your sort of art journaling journey. It's quite nice. I like layering up. The painting itself is just gorgeous, but if you want to add like symbols or stamps or whatever, these little additions are quite nice to do. So I'm going to start with the cutout, the sort of stencils. So I know a few of you have got some sort of textured, I suppose, patterned. Pull out an example. Plasticky stencils, and these are great, and you can be quite rough with them. We can use this brush, the stenciling brush, and we can do that, and then you can wash them and reuse them lots. So they're good. They're an investment. They can go in your kit, etc. These are more one-off. So I know in the past I've had a bird which came out quite a lot, but it started sort of, it's paper, so it starts dwindling. I am just using like printout paper, printer paper. So it's just A4. It's not got any thickness to it. Easy to cut. But if you wanted something a bit more it's just easy for you to say, sustainable, then you could get a kind of slightly thicker one, or you could use what's it called? So like a line. I remember getting years ago this forget I just said that because I've got no idea what I'm talking about. I can't remember what it's called. Let's keep it simple. Just use paper. Slurp of my thing. So as I say, you can use this a couple of times. I also will I be using it? You can use it. You've just got to be a bit more careful. It's just more fragile. It's thin paper. It is what it is. So I start my design. This is one that's already cut. Let's do a slightly different one. I start with a simple shape. It's not too big. We don't want to be here all day. I don't know if you can see that. I hope you can. I haven't got my headlight on. And it doesn't matter if it's a bit messy. You can pad it out. So let's just do a little kind of, let's call it a eucalyptus. It's not a eucalyptus, but it's, a little take on little round leaves. Quite cute. And you can come all the way down, or I might just use that like that. And then I'll pad that out. So I'm going to give it a stem. It's going to come to a point, neaten that, and then that can then maybe have another, it doesn't really need a stem, and then I'll do a little round leaf there. And each one of these will have a cutout. That's your printable area, all this. That's all the printable area, okay? So I'm doing this on a cutting board. You don't necessarily need a cutting board. You could use some packaging, but you want to just protect. I've actually got a glass top on my studio just because it's trying to keep it clean. It's a bit easier. Don't go and do this on your best dining table or anything. Just make sure you've got some padding to cut into. Paper, pencil. This is nothing fancy. It's just an HB pencil. And then I'm using this. It's quite old. It probably needs a new blade. So it's a precision knife. This is quite a good one. Whether they still do, I have literally had it years. If they still do this make, I'm not sure. But if anything, they'll be better. So you're looking, if you want to do this, for a precision knife. If you're not doing very kind of fancy things, you could just use a Stanley knife, but harder because they're bulkier. The nice thing about these, what I like about this particular one is that it works like a pen, as in I push that and I've got my blade. It's all tucked away, so it's really safe, and it's in my little box. So for me, aka clumsy person, perfect, as long as I remember to put it away. So, and then you just close it and the blade goes back in. Okay, so but you get, if you look on Amazon precision knives, you'll see various scalpely type things, and they range massively in price. You can get those little plastic ones, almost disposable, and they're absolutely fine and they're dead cheap. So it might be worth just getting something like that to start with, see if it's something you fancy doing. Okay, I am going to just pin the overhead so you can have a slightly clearer picture. Okay, so scrappy, a bit messy, doesn't matter. I'm going to get the blade out, so I just press that, you see it? And then very carefully, so I should all put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. Very carefully, I'm going to cut with something underneath my paper so I'm not damaging any tables. Now, bear in mind, I don't mean to talk to you like children, but I feel like I ought to say something. You just want your fingers away and ideally sort of cut away from your fingers. So it's very easy to think, oh, I've got to go in there and diddle it, and you're very close to that. So just keep this little hand over here, just keeping your paper steady, but just be really careful. No kind of massive movements. Don't do this in a hurry. All that, okay? So I'm going to start off just gently, and the newer they are, I mean, even if you get those disposable ones, they will be very sharp. So you shouldn't have to press. So this is a little bit danger zone, my thumb, but I don't want the paper curving. Okay, so I'm just getting off a bit there. Going to do another line there. It's probably quite substantial, but that's fine. Do a little point from the top there and then calm down. Nice and gently. So yes, so the newer, the sharper the blade, so it's going to be much simpler to cut. As I say, I reckon this can probably do with a new blade. In fact, that's what I shall do this afternoon, is have a little look, see if I can get a replacement blade. But that way you're not pressing really, it's just going to be going through it like butter. Be, you know, really lovely. Okay, so then I am going to do all those little stems that I've kind of put in. Just be careful, watch your fingers. Okay, so I'm not taking it away just yet, I'm just taking it down so it's, my head's in the way, is it? Sorry. Just check that that's cut, yep. Oh, it's quite thick. Let's do this side. Okay. And then you can move the paper around. It doesn't, you know, you don't want to make it awkward. You want to make it as easy as possible for yourself. So let's give that a nice big roundish. It's not going to be perfect, and that's absolutely fine. Just be careful, it might have a slight point. Okay, and I'll take that out. Check. Just want to make sure that's quite nice. I am having to press quite hard, and it is because it's a very old blade. Okay, and then I'm going to go around this. I might make it just a tad larger. And I think I mentioned at some point in one of the videos about these precision, X-Acto knives, and I bought one. I'm just having a look. I have got it here. I just ripped it up, to be honest. There is a proper make, I would imagine, called X-Acto. This is a copy. I don't. Might be okay. Yeah, I just feel like it rips. But I think if you've got the proper, yes, it hasn't even cut through, and that's brand new, so that isn't perfect. Might only stretch the imagination. Let's try a little bit harder. See, it's starting to. Anyway, that's another option to sort of think about. is the X-Acto knives. So they're on like a little wheel, and they move around, and you're meant to do all these lovely little kind of cutouts. This is rubbish. So I would probably suggest you get the proper make if you were to get one of those. Anyway, back to my little precision knife. Where did we get to? Not cut out at all, that's where we got to. So this is a little bit boring. So I've just sped it up a little bit so it's not too boring for you. So I've done all those. So I'm just doing like a little, keep your fingers away, curve, so that comes out. And I've started the circle of my kind of eucalyptus. And I'm moving the paper around. There we go. And then that can go. And then I'm going to close my blade. I'm just going to check that I can see all the way through it. Yes. So that's the cutout. Obviously, the more gentle you are with it, the longer it will last. So let's just get rid of all the excess paper. Yeah, I might just put that to the side for now because I'll see if something else works. Let's put my cutting board somewhere for now. And we're going to find a sketchbook. Okay, so I found this sketchbook, which has got a page which has got some painted background. So that just makes it maybe a little bit more interesting than a... Is that going to... I've only got one clip. A little white background. Carefully pull them out. Okie dokie. So decide what side you're going to do this in. So it's got a little bit of a curve there. Right, let's get the palette quickly and tell how organised I am. This one we'll just use some white. Okay. So what you don't want, I've got a lovely big blob of paint there. What I don't want to do is get, you know, a great big blob of it. Let's use this one. I mean, it's quite hard. I'm a little bit concerned. Let's see. We'll see. I am literally pulling out of the side a little bit. So I'm creating like a little film. You see that? So it's very thin. It's not thick. I don't want big old blobs. There we are. So I'll just get it nicely pliable. And then very gently, because it's paper, that's actually a little bit in the way. Let's move you out of the way. Very gently, because it's paper, I might repeat myself, I'm just going to circle over, keeping this all in place so you get a nice print. I might want a bit more. I'm going to take my fingers off that. And the other thing is to come out in, so you're not, you could just do it a little bit like that. Okay. The other thing is you can stipple it, so that's bashing it up and down. Let's do a bit of that so you can see. I mean, I never do this, especially on the plastic ones, but actually it might be a good way of doing it on the paper. See what you prefer. Let's go back into, and you can see I'm picking up just a little bit extra here and there, okay, because it will run out. Then I'm just going to move my fingers. It might get a little bit painty. Honestly, I woke up this morning, I just like half my clothes have just got paint on them. I don't know how I do it. Now, if you got very excited about all of this, printing and what have you, there is something called, I mean, there are lots of different things. There you go. See, that's quite cute. I mean, that's just a little bit of paper cut out. You could even try getting some paper and doing some blobs. So I could do another one of those, you know, I can layer that up like we did with our other ones. What I could do is let that dry and then I could turn it round. If you turn it round, you're going to get paint on that side, so you do need to let that dry. And then you've got them going separate ways, you know, different, and you could do different lengths and stuff. So that is a really nice, cheap, fun way to do it. Let's do this one here. Let's choose a slightly different colour. Get rid of that paint on my paper. Yeah, paper towel, that's what it is. Let's use a bit of that. This make here is the one, I think Sophie mentioned she got the gold. And this is just the Payne's Grey from the range. So if you're not in the UK, I don't know. But it must just be, it says Art Studio Premium. It's not bad. I haven't tried the gold, so I can't comment, but the paint itself seems to have a reasonable amount of pigment in it. This is the Payne's Grey, which is a sort of very dark, it's not black, it looks black, you can use it as black, but very dark, kind of blue-grey. Right, where's my other, there it is. So I might layer, but I might have it, let's have a look, do I want it going the other way? I might have it going the other way, just because. Right, let's try that. So again, we can try that. Stenciling seems to be, God, I do change the subject lots, don't I? I'm terribly sorry. Yeah, I'm going to stiffle this one. I think it might be the safest with paper for starting out, and then you can just get a feel for it. What I was going to say, till I got waylaid with something else, if you get really excited about this, there is something called a Cricut, and there are other versions, and they're basically digital cutters. Which I happen to have one. The only thing with it is, because I don't use it lots and lots, it feels like I'm having to relearn it every time, so it sort of stops me doing it, if that makes sense. But if you do get really into it, you can then buy the certain plastic, again, I hate to say Amazon, but it is, you can get it on Amazon, it's so easy and very reasonable. This plastic sheet. But how, I mean, look at that. That is definitely all right, isn't it? You know, and that for art journaling. So again, I can let that dry and then do it, kind of have it going the other way. You can build up your layers like that. I just think it's bloody brilliant. But going back to my Cricut machine. Oh no, you can't go over there. It's an absolute hellhole, actually. It's, but I'll show you if I've not completely lost it. Yes, I have completely lost it. Hello, where did I put that? I'll show you another time, but there it's, oh no, there it is. So you put in, you know, if you're not digital, it's hard. But that is a little kind of snaky pattern I did. You put it in and you change it to like an, I think it's an SVG, one of those, you know, not JPEG, basically another thing. And you put in, it's basically a black design, is the cutout, and it cuts it for you. And it's done on this sort of paper. So all these things that we buy, I mean, this is quite a thick one, so that would have been done with like quite an industrial version. So that's quite a heavy plastic. I can't remember what it's called. And this is a very thin film, but it works as well, and it's something I can use. I was using it for jelly press printing, which is another thing altogether. So they're just different versions. I mean, that way is an investment, and you know, because you've got to buy all the kit. But it's just something, if you get into, it's another way of kind of art journaling, I think. So, what else was I going to show you? So that is a very simplistic version. Is that dry yet? Let's do a little, let's do it the other way. Let's come down here. So we're doing a little bit of a, go back into that white. It's a bit grey because I've had the Payne's grey. Okay. Oh yes, very grey. Bluey grey. Okay, so it's going the other way. Voice went then. Very simplistic, but you get the gist, and you can see how you could start layering kind of motifs, templates, you know, that this sort of quite simple build up. I love it. I think it's a really brilliant addition to your work. So the next thing I wanted to show you was cutting stamps. I mean, this is a ridiculously small version, but that's my little seed that I made quite a few years ago, but it comes out quite a lot. It's very sweet. I'll just pop that there. So for this, I've just got the cutting board out just so that I've got a kind of, that's my surface, as it were. It's different to everything else. Put that aside. This stuff is called soft cut. Okay, and it's a sort of take on lino cutting. So if you were going to start getting into sort of line, you know, actually making images with lino, you could use lino. I think I might prefer it actually compared to this, but I use it for creating stamps. So if I've got and everything's, I've had things for a while, so I had a hand and I had an eye, so they're all things I really do need to start making again, because after a while, after lots of printing with them and washing them and just time, they get very rigid, and then they've kind of snapped. But this is great, and it's not too expensive. That's that. So I would use that as a kind of, you know, starting point. In here, I just happen to have, as you know, just because I've been doing it for years, loads of stuff. I've got loads of knives. I don't use them all. I'd probably use this the most, which you would get for free, or, you know, within a little kit. So it's just a handle, and then it's got a little blade, a little knife, and they all vary in size. So some have got sort of deep for doing more kind of areas, like wider, and then you've got more sort of precise, I don't know if you can see that, precise for thinner lines. Okay, but my nails are awful. And then this stuff, so this is something I got from Tiger again years ago. It came with a couple of little stamps, and it came with a knife, which I think is possibly in one of these ones in here. I don't know which one it would be, but basically there was a little knife in there. And then it has this rubber, I was going to say it, rubber. And you can make, and it's quite thick. So I haven't bought this separately. This came as a little kit, and I doubt you can get it there. I haven't seen it since. But there must be similar things where you would get your kind of like little kit for making stamps. DIY stamp set. So there'll be something similar somewhere. Okay, so you can use the stamps, you can use the ink pads, or you can use paints. My way, you can anyway. All right. So I'm going to get set up to show you how to do that. Okay, so I've just got the bit of the rubber, it's just a little bit left over. So what I am going to be doing is getting rid of this excess, the blue part, around the edge because I want to be left with that cross. So I have just drawn that little motif with a pencil. It's a teeny weeny little piece, so it is going to be particularly, let's say, stupid of me to be cutting it because it's going to be very close to my fingers. So I'm just going to be really careful. So I'm going in with my knife and I'm just going to take that right to the edge. This again is one of those things we don't want to hurry. There's no point hurting ourselves. I'm just cutting away. So you're creating flatness. So this blue won't essentially, sorry, a dog's just come in and now wants to go out. All on. So all that will get cut away. The other thing you can do, or I tend to do, is if I've got quite a large area of something I'm cutting away, I can get scissors and take out the majority of it, so you're just left with your stamp. So let's just do the shapes. I've got a little bit caught in there. This is a really kind of, if you can see it, it's quite a deep but thin blade. Let's just take that a bit deeper. Cut out the main shape. So there's a lot of excess, move that aside, on this side, so I might well just sort of chop that off. Okay, fingers are in the way. What you can do is create a wooden, I was trying to look for it, a wooden, if you use an old frame that's broken, you will get that right angle and you can put it in that right angle, and then you've got somewhere that is supported and moves away from your fingers. So that might be worth bearing in mind. So you get the gist of it. I'll probably kind of just press pause so you don't have to sit through this bit. But I've cut out the outside of the shape. Oh, gone a little bit in there. So just concentrating on it a bit more than I am. Get rid of that. I mean, it's not going to be the perfect cross, but never mind. And there's a little chunk taken out there, but you'll see how imperfect it is when I come to print it. So I'm basically getting rid of all this part, all this part, all this part, all this part. And I have got a slightly wider, when I say wider, it's more of a smile. You see that? Cutter. So I'll be able to get rid of a lot more of it like that. But, you know, really, if you're going to just get a little kit, one of the sort of all-in type kits, you'll probably just get it might have a number of blades actually, but I wouldn't go and spend a lot until it's something you think you might want to carry on with. Let's move that out of the way, but you can see it's going a lot quicker now. So I just wanted to get the more of a precise, that I managed to bulge up, outline. Okay. So I'm just getting rid of all that blue. Is that going to be, anyway, doesn't matter, let's get rid of that. Just watch your fingers. Please watch your fingers. I better put a caveat on that, and I'm not liable for your finger cutting. It shows one father who's such a okay, let's get rid of that. mean, these people who do these massive lino cuts, just beautiful. They're definitely a bit more precise than me, but this is just for extra dimension and interest within your sketchbook. I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. You might get these little parts showing as well. Watch your fingers. I'm almost saying it to myself, aren't I? Watch your fingers. Okay, that'll do for now. Let's give that a go, see what happens. So, in my box of tricks, somewhere I have got basically an ink pad, but I've got lots, but there was one that works particularly well, which isn't going to. I thought I'd been organised before this. There's one in here, that'll do. Let's use that one. So this is just a black ink pad. So you can either, with these, you can either dab, so you can see, dab on top. I don't know how, this is quite old, so I don't know how, oh there it is, it's covering now. Like that. The other thing with these is, so here I've made one and I've stuck it on a little wooden bit of, I suppose that's MDF or something, isn't it? And then so you've got a stamp, like a bit more user friendly. I don't really tend to bother. I tend to be just cut out. This is a large, another one I did. Messy, but quite good. And this is another one. Back to the leaves. Okay. Let's just do it on this bit of paper. Less than perfect, but that's the kind of point of the then you can reload it upward like that. You will get messier though. Try having your thing on a flat surface as well, rather than a load of bits underneath it, like I'm doing. Honestly, our dogs are kicking off. Right, so let's just redo that. I'm just making sure it's kind of, but you're getting those little bits of marks from the bits on the side, which I quite like. It's quite charming, but you can just chop them off if you don't like them. You can get rid of them. You can do little repeat patterns with it. It fades out obviously if you don't keep feeding it. Right, and then always remember to put your lid on your ink pad if you're choosing to do that. The other thing would be get a flat brush, go into your paint, because we've got paint so we know that that's all alright. Just again take out from the side, not going heavily into the blob, just making a little area, and then painting a little film of paint over the top. Pop that aside. Massage it, and you've got a nice, slightly different effect, a bit more linear because you're picking up the lines from the brush. So I definitely start with nice simple designs just to get used to the cutting process. See, that's quite a lot, so all that ink came off. And you've got that little outline, which again is quite nice. Put a bit more on there, a little bit, little outline. And then you can wash those, or you can just let it dry. Probably best to wash And that's another little stamp, so I'm going to add that to my small collection because I've got to redo lots of my favourites. Okay, that's the little one. Okay, so I'm going to use some of the soft cut for this. So I've got you've got a sort of shiny side on top and then a slightly matte, rougher side. That's the back. We're going to do it onto the shiny side, depending on which way you want it to face. So I'm going to go over this. This is a printout of my hair that we're going to be using in one of the designs. I'm going to go over it with a pencil. This particular pencil is a 6B. I don't know if you can see that, 6B, which means it's got a really soft lead. So when you use like an H pencil, they're really hard and you don't really tend to get an impression. So I could do a little line there, and I can either rub the little line, usually something hard, so I've got a bit of a, is that print? Yeah, and you can just about see that, or you can go over it with a hard pencil and you get much more defined. So that's another way of doing it. So basically I've printed that out. When I put it on here, it's going to be, no, it's not. If you want it going the other way though, you can just literally kind of do the back of it. Okay, so I'm going to start by outlining my shape, not with my soft pencil, not with the HB. Okay, so that's its nose. So I might lose some detail. Like I think, well, let's see. I'm going to put in, I'm just simplifying the shape. So coming under the tummy, and then I'm just doing that back leg, which meets there. And this is the front leg. Let's come under that tail. Okay, then I might just exaggerate those ears. I'll put the second one behind it, and then the sort of centre bit can be a bit more splodgy. I might just put, that's the tummy and belly there, and then let's do a little bit of a line for where the nose is. What should I do with the eye? I think let's just do a circle, and if we feel brave we can always put a bit more detail in later. Okay, so that's all been drawn. Did I do that one? Let's go over it just in case, that's the thing, and then we're going to put a line there. Okay, I think that's everything. And then you want it so it's going to fit. I might do it on a diagonal actually, because it's a smaller piece, so you could use a full. Is that going to fit the whole lot on? It might do. And then I'm just gently going to rub over, let's use the harder pencil. Holding onto it, I'll knock you out of view. Holding onto the paper so it doesn't move. Got the ears, I'm going to come down to the face. Front legs, or arms as I like to call them. I might lose a bit of the back legs. So the other way to do this, which is possibly a little bit less messy, but works on bigger pieces, would be to kind of use a wooden spoon. So if you were kind of doing a whole picture, maybe the wooden spoon technique would be quite a good way of doing it. But for these little motifs, little stamps that I make, just to find that, because it's, there we go, missed a little bit of that tail. Let's just give it a pop like that. Okay, so I'm going to sort of lose some detail. That's it. And then when it prints, it'll print that way. Just realised there's a bit of a... Anyway, no, I'm not going to worry about that. So that's that. Okay, so I'm going to cut... What I'll probably do is get some larger scissors later, not now. And I'm going to cut away with the knife, with the blade to start with, around the area. And then because this is quite thin, I'll cut, so I won't be cutting all this, I'll just cut all that excess away. All right. So I am going to put those aside for now. Put my glasses on. I've got my thin, so it's like a line. I'm going on the outside of the pencil. Going all the way around the actual sort of shape. Let's go off there like that. So I've got a bit of a curve, and I'm basically going to do one. If you can't get that kind of tight curve in, we can go back in. Can't get it out now. That's it. Come on, I haven't got nails. Wanted a bit more defined. Then under the neck and around this head. Ooh. You don't want everything moving. Right, so you get the idea. I'm going to go around the edge. I'm just going to put it on pause so it's not too boring for you. So I've done sort of majority. I just wanted to kind of point out that when you get to these little kind of fiddly bits, you want to maybe kind of, you're going away from yourself. Okay, so I'm going outwards and I'm just going back to my thinner knife, because that's slightly trickier, but you can see for the majority I've used a wider, that one. Okay, I've put in the detail. It might look a bit weird, I don't know, but we'll see when it prints. I've taken an eye out, I've popped a little detail where the nose is, so it's all very simplified design wise. Just for this, I'm going towards my fingers, so I'm not concentrating. Just going to deepen that outside line. So yeah, go away from yourself. And one of those little, I don't know what they're called, but you get these little, you can get these things where you kind of put your lino in there, so it's kind of captured and you're holding it. It's basically keeping your fingers away. Going away, but my fingers are quite close. You've just got to be quite careful there. God, my nails are a disgrace. I don't want to show you. I'm keeping that quite flat. So you're sort of digging a certain amount. I haven't tried warming this up at all. I know with lino, proper lino, if it's a bit warmer, it cuts much easier. So I've got a little bit of an edge there, and I think what I'm going to do is chop that out. So I'm not going right up to the design itself, but I'm just going to do that. You can see, got my little hair there. Okay. So there's some areas that are quite thick, so I might just try and cut that away. I put that aside for like a little print later or something. Just try and get these little bits that are sticking away. Ooh, I've taken a load out there. Never mind, doesn't matter. That bit might. Yeah, that's quite close. But anyway, never mind. I was trying to get rid of this bit here that's quite tall. Let's try the smaller one. I don't want to lose that sort of definition. Oh, good example of not what to do. All right, go away from yourself. That's it. Just very carefully. If it takes a long time, it might be worth just having a little breather, a little break in between. This isn't a quick process. I mean, I'm trying to do it as quick as possible because I just want to kind of demonstrate it for you. But yeah, if you wanted more detail, let's see how that is anyway. Okay, so I've got my hair, I've got my ink again, or you can use your, what can you use? Your paint. It's feeling like quite a long morning. So this is obviously a much bigger one than our little motif one. Going right to the ears. So this is me just going to test it out. I'm just going to find a piece of plain paper before I attack this little sketchbook here. Let's put that nice and flat. Let's just do those feet again. Pressing down. So you are catching some of those. They are quite nice. Okay, and then this is a bigger version. So you do want to make sure you want to keep it still so it doesn't double. You don't get a blurred vision of the design. And I'm making sure I'm pressing down everywhere. Okay, so if you were doing proper lino, you would have a press really, but for this it should be okay. Look, there we go, got a lovely little design there. Little leaping hair, bloody gorgeous. You can have multiple of them, just each time you press. Okay, so that's our little trial. These, you know, what you could do with all this, it doesn't have to be wasted. You can cut those out and collage them as well, so you can stick them into your journal. So all this is lovely, lovely texture. That could just be stuck in somewhere. Okay, I don't know. So I might stick that. I mean, you can build it up, but you know, it might be that I kind of put that in there somewhere. Okay, let's. You can get all sorts of different coloured ink pads. I think you're sort of looking up. I don't know what I'm looking up actually. I can't. This is just came with the kit, so but it is quite a good one. You're not really looking for the stationery version, like. So this is my stamp for Funky Easel. That's just like a stationery, so I have my stamp, put it in, stamp the back of my, that doesn't, it's not as strong, it's not as inky, it's just kind of quite functional, whereas this has just got a bit more to it. So they tend to be, whoop, dropping it, they've got a, you know, a rise, they're sticking out, it's not going in. Trying to find, I was just trying to work, this hasn't got a brand, so hard to know. I would imagine this make will do them. I don't know for sure. Easy. Put that over there anyway. So, nice flat surface. And then it might be press onto it like that, so it's all, so it might be a little bit more textured when it's in your book. And if you don't like all the little cut lines, you can just cut them away. You don't have to have them there. Let's do another one flying over here. Let's get this a bit flatter. What's interesting is that underneath it's softer because it's a book, so it might be worth putting something, I'm just trying to look, something hard underneath to give it a bit more. Let's just see what that looks like. Yeah, so you're getting it, but it's definitely not as clear as the original one. Let's try that again, and then we'll try with the paint as well. I wonder if I've got, let me have a think, what have I got? There must be something, just a bit, something hard, flat and hard. Let's use, if I put this in, it's just the board. And we'll put that over there. And I'm really quite pressing, really quite hard. You can't see there. So you're just going to get a bit more texture because of the paint, but it has clarified it a little bit more, having something hard under your page. So that's that. Shall I do one with the paint? We can have a look at that. Let's get myself a flat brush. Okay. So there's no water on that. You don't want it watery, otherwise it'll just make a mess everywhere. And I'm just going to go over the top. And the other thing I did think is I might just take some little lines out of the main part of the body to kind of give this indication of its fur coat. Okay, let's try that, see how that looks. So you don't have to necessarily buy the ink, you can just use your paint, which if I'm honest, I mainly do use paint, just because it's out and it's ready to go. Yeah, so you get a nice print with that too. So I'm going to go and give that a bit of a wash. I mean, you don't have to, but you start losing the detail of those cuts. And then, as I said, you can cut away those excess if you don't like it. And you can use that as a little bit of I don't know, build-up of collage. I love collage. This is just a quick, oh, dog started barking. This is gold leaf. If you haven't seen it before, it comes in these little sheets. You sometimes get, depending on what make it is. I think this is an Annie Sloan, just because we used to sell Annie Sloan in the shop. But very thin. Where is it? There it is. Little sheets. It's just oof, like that. So it comes like that. A little book. Obviously someone's come. Now this is a gold size, so this is a glue to use with gold leaf. So as I said, this one I'm using is an Annie Sloan. There will be other makes. I haven't tried it with just using PVA glue, so I can't comment. I don't know if it works or not. Using a brush, I'm just thinking maybe not a really nice brush. Let's use something that's, I'm not going into water, so I'm just getting some of the, and I'm just going to paint on some designs. It is quite sticky. obviously it's quite sticky, it's glue, but it's even when it's dry, it's a little bit tacky. So yes, you could use your stencils for it, but you might end up, if you don't wash it really well, it might end up, I think I've sort of ruined things in the past. So I'm just going to paint, I think very roughly, you can see. And what you have to do is you have to sort of let it go off, you have to let it dry. So I'm just doing these little, so I'm doing a little ball and then taking a little stem down to the main stem. And I won't do it straight away, I'm going to let it dry, a bit smaller, and then I will add the gold. Sorry, I can't seem to talk and do at the same time. I mean, that is quite thick. I don't think you want it as thick as that. Let's see how we go. And it seems to not be that happy if you blow dry it. It's much better if you let it air dry. Okay, that is very thick. Anyway, let's see how that works. Let's just do some thinner little lines and see how they fare. Just some little marks. Ooh, that's thick. Little dashes, and we'll see what they do. Okay, I don't know if you can see those. So now my brush, I'm just going to wash it straight away because it'll just go rock hard and it will be deemed pretty useless. Pop that away. So gold foil adhesive or glue that you'd be looking for. So the one I use is the Annie Sloan, just because I know it works well. So I'm going to let that dry and then I'll come back with one of my sheets and we'll have a go. Whilst it's drying, that's the gold size, I just thought I'd go through some of my sketchbooks. It's not to say, oh, how fabulous am I? It's just to kind of give you a sort of oversight, which I might have showed you before, but I just want to kind of, so this little series was purely using, so there's a picture of me as a child, but I'm using collage, so I kind of cut out photos, not cut out photos, but I kind of print them out just on paper and then I've used them as collage. Images are found online. I use Canva a lot and get sort of little images like that. So this is a build-up of cut-out stencils of bits I've found, some little topper drawings. I've got the stencils kind of showing, you know, just doing patterns and what have you. A bit of washi tape there, putting my words like that. This gets really sticky. That is wallpaper. So just cut that out, it's very textured. Again, you can see more of the stencils there, cutouts. There's some, you know, napkins. You can take the top layer off of like a patterned napkin. They're really good. So you're kind of doing a decoupage effect. Okay. So the butterfly, lots of stencils, lots of gold. And this one is a little, if I found things in books, this is from a little kind of old-fashioned sort of children's book. And it's just building up all the layers. So that's what this was. This is from wrapping paper. So I just took the little hearts out of some, it was a tissue with these little metallic bits, which obviously caught my magpie eye. And then these little skulls are stamps, okay, that I made ages ago, which I don't think I've still got. I cut words out from magazines, what have you. I know we don't have so much magazine things now, but you can get free magazines in supermarkets and things, leaflets, what have you. This, what is this? That was a take, so I used the carbon paper that we used to trace, and I did a version, so I've kind of cut her body out there, and then I used the carbon paper, which I've stuck on as a bit of collage, but you can very vaguely see the outlines. I think it's a really nice effect. Might look at doing that a bit more actually. More words, same thing. So I just keep building up magazine cutouts. that was like, so I found a kind of woman and then just gave it this crazy kind of stenciled and cut out hair. That was my eye one that's recently broken, but just a simple stamp which I like and I use a lot. That was another little stamp I did. These I'm going into a bit sort of mandala, so I'm kind of really into, I don't like that as much, but it's quite fun. This is when I started using sort of my mandalas, not in a kind of very, very traditional way, but just sort of same idea, bit of collage. Absolutely hate that face, but it's fine. You know, simple, cut out. But it's all the doing of these things that, you know, that's where the magic is. Okay, so that is one sketchbook. But these are really nice to look back as well, because you kind of remember, it takes you back to notes and what have you. What's a kind of free drawing. That's a nice thing to do, is kind of using your right and your left hand and just doing a butterfly in one, and then I just in one sorry, I'm not making myself clear, in different kind of crayons, or I used oil pastels, and then just created those. It's really good for your right and your left brain. And then I kind of just started it up by kind of blocking out the background and adding little bits, and obviously more gold. So that's that one. And then this isn't necessarily finished. This is very much a mandala-y that I've sort of added to over the years. But you'll start seeing similar, like my eye stamps there again. They come back. What did I do there? That's that one. Oh yeah, and then I kind of did these weird little feet. That's another stamp I've used quite a lot, which is actually, I think, that one there. Magpies, prayer. So again, I would call that a mandala. It's sort of all similar. You're getting all these little marks. This is a slightly different to what I normally do, but you can see all the writing underneath, less covered up. It's all there. This was, what was this? These were little flowers from a napkin. I really like the colours of them, so that's sort of got used in that. I've got little bees. They were little transfers from something. This was really kind of methodical and nice to do, and just sort of really calming. And then you can add little affirmations. So I've just, you know, I added a little bit of a kind of Macintosh style writing to something recently, you know, to the hair. It's just using different ways of, it's visuals. It's just playing. This is quite different. I really like this, that kind of watercolory effect over the writing, creating these trees, reflection. And then it goes, you know, I haven't done any extra. So that was a little Easter one, a little Easter bunny. That one I don't particularly like. So this is the thing, you kind of do them, it's done. I don't like it at all, actually. It's a blank page. More, obviously, something that I haven't finished. But some of that. That's again another one with my kind of crazy little crow birds. Is there any more in here? Is that just notes? No, so it's obviously I'm starting something that actually looks quite interesting. I might carry on with that. It's the beginning of something, isn't it? So that could be, you know, I'll come back to that, who knows. Pop that down there, and then do turn off if I'm boring you. This is my sort of latest mandala, which there isn't lots in it, but I went to France on a retreat. So it was this, but I'm sort of, it's the first time I've started using watercolour paints, which I surprised myself with how much I enjoyed them. And also I'm not a very precise worker, it's quite slapdash, as you may have been, you know, seen. But doing these mandalas kind of really helped me focus, actually, and I found it really relaxing, and I surprised myself at how long I sort of stuck with doing more sort of precise things. So that was a really lovely thing to do. I really enjoyed that, and I loved the doing in this was all the kind of how in the watercolours they start bleeding into each other. I mean, if you've had any experience with them, I wouldn't say I'd be teaching it just yet, but it's a very mindful thing to do because it's just very fluid. This was my first take on the bee, which has sort of come back a few times in one of my funky easel things, but this is going to be another page in the journal. Lots of writing. Oh, dog trying to fly up at me. Lots of writing. Then this was another mandala that was kind of weirdly what I'm going to be starting a membership called Bloom, and this is now my, it wasn't planned this way, but it's my motif for my my logo, this sort of central flower. I kind of see it, if I have it like that, it's like a kiss, it's like a flower, it's a motif in the round, so it's kind of, so that sort of surprised me, which I really love. This is very unfinished. This is about fragmentation, so this is a photo of myself cut up. See my necklace and what have you, and then the bird, I've got writing behind it, so that's very unfinished. Have I got anything else unfinished? Oh yeah, that's something, I'm not sure where I'm going with that one. I want to do sort of a labyrinth type style. I've got my little, but that's, yeah, I haven't really come back to that. So that's just my current personal book, and then I have, you know, my sketchbooks of ideas for work, lots of writing, lots of kind of ideas, lots of like, oh no, that isn't going to work, yes that might work, who knows, practice like we've just done today. I've done sort of, you know, our bits that we've been doing in Creative Embrace, and sort of flower ideas, lemons, that was for Lemon Heaven, that was my dragonfly, the original for the dragonfly. Yeah, so there, I've got a few of those, but they're more messy, and I don't, you know, they're great, but they're not something I necessarily see as a personal journal, whereas, you know, those weren't the other ones I do. I'm going to go and have a little look at seeing how our gold is drying. Okay, so because I have the patience of an ant, I did try and speed it up, so I've done it, kind of gone onto the other page by mistake. So anyway, I'm getting, you can see how light it is, look, see? And let's just pop this over, I think everything that I've done there. So, oh no, I've missed a bit there. You can just see it where it's slightly shiny. And then I'm just going to get a flat dry brush. I'm just going to go very gently over it. Okay, I'm hoping this is going to work because I did give it a little bit of a dry after I told you not to. Now I'm just gently, you can start seeing, I don't know whether you can see it or not, I might just bring the a bit closer. So you can start to see the motif there. And I've just got those little dashes I put in later. I think I've got them all. Let's see if there's anything over here. I thought I did quite a few of those little dashes, but I can't seem to see them now. Okay. So as I kind of start peeling away, you can start seeing where things are, and I'm very gently just doing circular movements with my side of my brush. I'm just almost lying it down, doing nice little circular motions. feels like, I mean, it should only really adhere, obviously, to the glue. But you just keep on kind of going so you get that nice sharper edge. Let's move that. And you can keep these little bits. You can have a little pot and put those in because they can be used. That's where it splodged over to the other side when I closed the page by mistake. Don't do that. And then I'm just going to carry on doing a little circular so it's starting to take away the areas where the glue, so I might just talk, it's quite a long brush this, just giving it slightly shorter. I reckon where it's splodged, it's made it just a bit thicker. Okay, and I'll start getting rid of that excess, which I shall start seeing the pattern coming out. I'm just getting rid of all the excess little gold bits, just having lost. I mean, I would definitely recommend letting that glue properly dry. Put your book in an area, do it the last thing you're going to do. I probably wouldn't also do it over anything collaged so that you haven't got it being attracted to any other glue. Okay, so it's quite nice now that, I mean, I'm not trying to make a page here, but it just, you can see that. Oh, beautiful. Okay, but you can see this whole thing could get very expensive, so it's, you know, it's a little bit at a time. Okay, so that I think was everything I was going to show you for little extras to kind of complement your art journaling. Yeah, I shall see you soon. Take care.